Well, I'm talking about offense today. I think the big thing is to kind of talk a little bit about how I see offense. You know, I think I'm someone that looks at the game in a way that I would want to run an offense where I feel like I'm teaching the game and I'm teaching guys how to play. We do run some set plays, as you know, but we try to really teach guys how to play off each other. We do have some actions. We ball screen a lot. We hand off a lot, and really teach guys how to play off those actions. So I'll be going through a lot of our spacing, the way we space when we drive the ball, what we do when the ball goes inside, and then how to play off some of the actions that we play with.
You're not from Boston.
I am not.
But, do you feel like you're part of the fabric of the city now?
Absolutely now. You know, going on my 13th season, actually 14 because I spent 1 year at BC, so I've been here for 14 years. You certainly, in the basketball world, have met a ton of people. And Boston, you know, people in the city of Boston especially love their basketball. So it's been great for me to be here for this long and to get to know some of the people that I've gotten to know.
And then to kind of be here and a place like this where you can kind of impart some of the wisdom that you got as a coach. You know, how important is it for you to be a fabric of this community?
Absolutely, to give back. You know, I remember being a young coach and I would go to these types of clinics and try to learn as much as I could, you know, and pick people's brains. And that's what I try to do, is just kind of give back when I can. With a day like today, it's really important for me to show up and be there, you know, for people of color.
Did you have that kind of support system amongst the coaching fraternity when you were young?
Yeah, I was a real lucky guy. I think throughout my life, I look back and sometimes I'm like, all right, how did I get here, right? And I look back and I was really lucky. I had a great high school coach, a terrific college coach, and then when I graduated from college, I was a guidance counselor and a middle school coach, and the varsity coach that I worked for at that time was one of the best coaches on Long Island, Frank Romeo, and I learned a ton from him, and from him I met Jay Wright, and you know, the thing kind of, you know, just kind of went that way, that I was able to meet some terrific coaches, learn a lot from them, and a little bit ride their coattails for a while, you know, and get into some good situations for myself.
I mean, I think that speaks a lot to the community of basketball. You know, you never know who you're going to meet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's probably an important reason why they're bringing these things together.
Listen, man, you know, again, you look back and you start thinking about just all these great relationships that I've had, you know, with former players. You know, now that I've coached for this long, I have so many former players that you reach out to, and a lot of these guys, I don't want to, you know, talk about my age too much, but I have some guys that are 40 years old now, and they have a couple of kids and the whole bit. And so, you know, I've run the gamut now of the families, the players, the different schools I've been able to work at, the different communities that I've been in, you know, being at Villanova and Philly, being in New York City at Columbia, being here in Boston, and some of the great cities in our country. I've been able to kind of be in the fabric of basketball in those areas, which has brought so many great relationships.
I've asked everybody this question, kind of as your last question. If not for basketball, where would you be?
Well, I was lucky. I don't know, because, you know, I was able to use basketball to get into college. I wasn't a phenomenal student. I don't know where I would have ended up going to college at that point. So I used basketball to get into college. But I knew once I got into college, I kind of knew that it was going to be over at some point, right? So I was always kind of, not in high school, but in college, I was striving to do well academically and then try to kind of figure out that next stage. I was smart enough to know, like, I need to figure out that next stage. So I actually stayed at my alma mater, Oswego State, got a master's degree in counseling, and that's what I did. I never thought I'd coach high school basketball, college basketball. I just wanted to coach, and I coached middle school, and I thought I'd be a principal or superintendent one day. So maybe I would be in education as a teacher or a administrator.
He's looking to pass the same cut. He's looking to pass it through cut. Because what he's really good at, he's really good at playing off the ball. Right? He's really good at driving the ball. So if we can pass it to him and he can go drive it middle, that's where he really excels. So trying to get him to maybe stay away from working the action and playing off the movement of the offense and his teammates more. Now that's a whole nother level, right? In high school, that's what might be a little bit harder to do, but that's how I see the game. And then I work on the ball screen action with this kid that's not great at it because I want him to get better. You see, the teams that I have, we get better as the year goes on, and we get better every year because we're constantly teaching the game. We're not putting kids in boxes and telling them, you can't do this. We'll say, hey, right now, you've got to get better at this. But we're not telling them never to do it. We just try to cut down on the reps that they are doing.
Oh, so y'all together. Y'all work together.
You got a Navy jacket on, you talking to me?
Get those balls back.
That looks like Navy. They blasted us 5 times in a row. I got to get those dudes back. Go ahead.
Yo, I'm going my bag. Don't go in my bag.
Oh, you started with this again?
You got any good?
Yeah. People switch that stuff. Then we cut. We'll cut more. We know they're switching. We'll just cut. They can't stop everything. I would say this. My thing is like, we'll go into the game emphasizing certain things that we do. So we know, like, all right, when you come off the ball screen, Navy's going to help on the nail. Their weak side guy is coming all the way over. They don't want penetration. So they're susceptible for the marry and drift. So we don't even try to screen them. We try to marry and drift them and play off that. So depending on how they're guarding, depending on what we do. But the switching, even in that zoom action, can give you problems if you don't practice against that. And we work on that because we switch it.
Can't do it.
Because we think it's hard to guard without switching. And it's helping us. So we're cutting it off. So we're slipping it and we're just cutting it. And that's really hard to guard. Because a lot of times these two guys don't even come close together and they're still trying to switch. That's hard.
Oh, you did get that shirt for vacation?
Yeah, that's another thing. I'll say this. When we get older, we get fouled more because we understand how to drive the ball more. I think sometimes we're settling for jump shots way too much because they don't really understand the offense yet. So when you get it, you get a lot of people have to help on the action, so you're getting a lot of jump shots. We got to get better at driving the ball. So one of the things I'd say is this. I didn't go through this with you guys, but we do this even if it's guard to guard. So even if Rainer, you come up here, and Rainer's got the ball, and we start doing this guard to guard, because this is hard to guard. He's got the ball, and I'll go straight and let him drive the ball. Or he's in the corner, and he fills up, and it's guard to guard, I'll pass it, and then I'll slip it, and then he can drive off my ass. See, the whole thing is like, you gotta make the defense have to make decisions. And so what we try to do is, even if it's guard to guard on that side of the floor, we'll do some screen with those guys as well, to try to add some confusion so we can get the ball dribbling. That's a great question. So I have a guy that's an offensive guy. So his job is break down the practice film every day, meet with me, go through things we're doing well, things we got to get better at, and then adding on stuff. But he's been with me now for 6 years. He knows me well. Like, we work very well together. So he's my offensive guy. He'll come up with suggestions during games, things he sees. He'll put together kind of a game plan of what he thinks or how we need to attack a team. He's really good. And when I was an assistant for Jay, he didn't need any help. He kind of did all this shit on his own. Like, you come to his practice, he was doing everything. You know, I had the blocking dummy, I had the freaking pad, I was the ball reversal guy, I'm playing token defense. I wasn't really teaching. He was doing all that. It was a solo with him. And so I had to learn watching him, learn the game myself, pick other people's brains, but I try to do it differently because I want my assistants to excel. I want them to improve, so I give them a lot of responsibility. So I got a defensive guy. He does the same thing the offensive guy does. You come to my practice, they're running the drills, and I'm just adding things that I need to add. I'm making sure we're playing hard. I'm making sure they understand the details, but I'm not running every drill. I don't run the drills anymore. They run the drills. And then I get on, and then I got a guy in charge of transition defense and rebounding. That's how we do it. Great question. Was that helpful at all? I never know. And you don't have to tell me, don't just say that. That was a little too much. What I try to do is, like, when I was in your shoes, I just wanted to get something. I wanted to take something from what people were talking about. And I just like talking about basketball and how to play and how to read and how to cut and how to screen. And that's kind of what I try to provide. I am who I am. My cell number is 781-690-8614. Listen, I love talking about basketball. You're not bothering me. It'll take my mind off us not being that good this year. But if you call, I'll answer. If you want to come to practice, my email, if you want to either email me, my email is jjones11@bu.edu. And anything you want. You want some videos of some things we're doing, you want to come to practice, I'm not one of those guys, I'll give you all that shit. That don't bother me. They still got a guard. If you're friends with Bill Cohen from Northeastern and you give it to them, they still got a guard. It's still hard to guard. So if you want to come by practice and call, feel free. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Although, Coach Jones gave you a cell number. Every time I call it, he never answers it.
What's going to be my career? Really trying to figure that out. So I sat down with my college coach. I think that's what coach was so important to me and why I became a coach. My college coach was probably the closest person in my life at the time, so he was the one I sat down with and kind of talked about what would be a good career for me. So he talked about going into education. He thought that would be a really good career. So that's what I did. I got a master's degree in counseling up at Oswego State, stayed 2 more years, and became a middle school guidance counselor. So I never really thought I'd be a college coach or even a high school coach. I thought I'd be a middle school guidance counselor, and then one day maybe a vice principal, maybe a superintendent one day. But I think the love of basketball, I always loved to play, and then when I started coaching, I just had a real passion for it. Found myself taking kids out of class, go watch film, working guys out before and after school, and then I was really lucky. The guy that I was coaching with, I was his middle school coach, he was the varsity coach. He had a connection with Villanova, and that's when really my whole career changed. I met Jay Wright when he was just a young coach, 25 years old. I was about 22. And Jay and I became really good friends, and when Jay got the job at Hofstra, he called me and I got on the staff and worked with Jay for 3 years at Hofstra and then 2 more at Villanova. Without that relationship, I'm not where I am. So I coached at Hofstra for 3 years. I coached at Villanova for 6. I was a head coach at Columbia for 7. I came here to BC. I was the associate head coach at Boston College for 1 season with Steve Donahue, and then the BU job opened 13 years ago. And I was fortunate enough to get the job, and I've been here ever since. Hopefully I'll be able to retire from BU. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about offense. I think the thing for me, working for Jay, he was great with the fundamentals of the game. As everybody knows, he's a Hall of Fame coach. So he was great in terms of the fundamentals of the game. But I think I learned real quickly when I worked for Jay and then got the job at Columbia, that I could do the things that we were doing at Villanova. At Villanova we had, All-Americans, Randy Foye, Alan Ray, Curtis Sumner, Kyle Lowry, just to name a few. And so those guys are able to make plays very easily. When I was at Columbia, we really had to move the defense around in a much different way to be effective. So that's the first thing I learned, that I wasn't going to be able to do what we did at Villanova. So I had to kind of come up with a way that I wanted to play. And I think that's the major thing when you're a young coach and you're learning. Because I went to clinics like this when I was a middle school coach and a high school coach, just trying to learn more. And I think the thing I would say is, you have to have a way that you want to play. And I think the success I've had is because we have our style of play at BU, and then we just tweak our style to fit who we have in our program. We don't change each and every year. When I was a young coach at Columbia, I was changing each and every year because I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So I think when you're a young assistant, you really need to pay attention to, hey, if I ever got a head job, this is how I want to play. And some of this has been like trial and error, but my major thing was I really wanted to teach the game of basketball. I didn't want to run an offensive system that just put people in spots on the floor, and I told them where to go on every play, and I didn't want to be so controlling. I wanted to teach the game, and I wanted the guys on the team to enjoy coming to play for me every day. I kind of wanted to play a style that I thought I'd want to play. All right, so what I did was I looked at the continuity, ball swing offense that everybody runs, and just tried to make that my own. That was a big part. So I'm just gonna kind of break this down for you. I'll answer any questions that you have at the end. But I just kind of want to break it down for you and kind of show you kind of what we do. All right, very simple. Can I get five guys? And let's get a ball out here, and let's use the main court. All right, just give me a guard with the ball. You got some size. You play on that right block right there. You play on that right wing. He'll have the ball. You play on that right wing. You play at this alley line right here. Perfect. And then you get in this wing right here. And just come up a little bit. Be like mid-post extended right here. So, just basically, you just bring it down over here. So, really, what I'm going to show you, we can play with 2 forwards, or we can play with 4 guards and 1 forward. I'm going to kind of show you how we play when we play just with 1 forward. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is just the spacing of our offense. So we use the wings, so we use mid-post extended, and then we use the corners on both sides. We use the alleys, and we use the corner, that corner, and we use the wing over there. So our perimeter players can be in any of these spots on the floor. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots, 6 spots that we can occupy at any given time. All right? So the first thing I would say is, let's talk about what happens when we drive the ball. All right? So very simple. Let's do this. Let's give the ball to him and have you come up to the wing. Catch the ball. all right? And then you're gonna drive the ball baseline, all right? So now when he drives the ball baseline, we call this Canada. So we always want to be coming from behind to give him an outlet. We want our big now, if he's on the ball side block, to space what we call the dotted, which would be right here. We want to flood that corner, and then we want to loop behind. Right there.